Hey everyone, welcome to African Esquire TV. I'm your host, Tani Cherie. I wanted to discuss this story, although it's one that I probably normally would not discuss, because I think that it is really a good revelation for our people to realize that we are not exempt in any type of way from the effects of the exploitative capitalist system, no matter what position that you occupy. So I'm going to play this video and then I'm going to come back with some commentary.
There's a problem with the culture and with practices.
Charlotte Newman says she's speaking out now because she thinks it's time for a change at Amazon.
It's time for Amazon to act with the same obsession internally, with the same rigor that we approach our businesses and our customers.
In the lawsuit, Newman, who's still employed by Amazon, alleges the company pays her less than people with similar experience. She says she's also been the victim of stereotypical racial tropes. In one instance, she says a coworker told her she looked like a gorilla, and she says a manager called her aggressive, too direct, and just scary.
I'm not here because it's just about me. You know, as the Vox reporting demonstrates, there's a pattern of systemic discrimination.
Newman's lawsuit came shortly after Vox's website, Recode, published an investigation into treatment of Black employees at Amazon.
I think a lot of these issues have been festering at the company.
Senior Recode correspondent Jason Del Rey says he spoke to 10 Black employees who told him they face both direct and insidious bias that harms their careers and personal lives.
So the video was about a woman by the name of Charlotte Newman, and she is an executive at Amazon. She is a 39-year-old Black woman and says that there have been casual acts of sexual harassment that have been fostered by the company executives, and that they harbor negative misconceptions about African-American and female employees. These entrenched stereotypes, she says, are evident in the company's lack of Black leadership. She claims that she endured years of sexual abuse, civil rights, and equal pay violations and was unfairly passed over for positions in the company's upper ranks, positions that she claims were given to white colleagues who oftentimes had less experience than her. Now Newman is taking on her employer, one of the largest corporations in the world, in a federal lawsuit. Newman, by the way, she's still employed there. That's the crazy thing. Newman claims in a discrimination lawsuit filed this month that the online retail behemoth exhibited a pattern of discriminatory practices that prevented her from advancement. There is a problem with the culture and the practices, she told CBS in the morning. And it's time for Amazon to act with the same obsession internally and the same rigor that we approach our business and our customers. Newman is seeking compensation for years of lost wages, emotional distress, and punitive damages for sexual abuse that she said she endured. Okay, so this is very interesting. One, just aside from this actual story, I remember Amazon was one of those corporations that I spoke about before that during the aftermath of the George Floyd murder, they were sharing statements of solidarity with Black Lives Matter, okay? Now, it's very ironic, obviously, that these corporations that do these things have absolutely no affinity for Black people, but this is something that we're used to. The thing that we should just remember is that whenever these people decide to actually use our liberation as a guise for their racism, that those systems are ones that have to be addressed appropriately. Now, in this case, the reason I want to talk about this story is because I think that a lot of us are divorced from the fact that our wellness, our livelihood is completely connected to African people in general. So when you're looking at what's going on with Amazon right now, there's a lot of protests going on around the fact that the Amazon employees do not receive fair treatment, and a lot of their employees are African people.
Michael Foster's a union organizer, and early this morning we found him outside the Amazon warehouse at Shift Change, where he's campaigned for votes since last October.
Amazon is treating the people disrespectful. They basically telling the people, if you don't want to abide by the way we work, you can go find another job somewhere else.
According to the union, roughly 85% of the workers at this massive warehouse are Black. Most are women. Many complain about grueling work, unsafe conditions, with inadequate bathroom and meal breaks.
We're being treated like we're prisoners. Who's there to get a job done?
Jennifer Bates and Daryl Richardson both work at the warehouse.
What's your biggest frustration there?
Job security, respect, and your safety, well-being.
The community don't realize is what's going on behind the curtain. What are the people there going through just to make sure that we get our packages?
It's time for us to make a stand. It's time for some changes.
Frustrated work.
The reason why this story I think is very relevant is because a lot of our people, we convince ourselves that we have degrees, that we have internships to our name, we have other job work experience, we have very prominent certifications. We have all of these things basically to boost our resume. And we think that we can go into corporate spaces and ignore the fact that African people on the low levels are really outwardly talking about how exploitative the system is. But we think that we can enter to the corporate spaces of these same companies and that we will be given a different treatment. And I think that we have to actually realize that you are not, I don't care how much certifications, how much accreditations that you have received, you are not exempt from this struggle. The fact that the people of Amazon who have been complaining very much, you should take that as being understanding of the fact that you will not be treated any way better, even though you might have all of the credentials to your name to boost your image, to boost your influence. That's really a misconception that the capitalist system has taught a lot of us. We think that we can basically qualify ourselves as African people to not have to deal with the results of racism, and that's just never going to be the case. I really hope that also with the Meghan Markle situation that a lot of our people were taking notes. There's no reason for you to completely divorce yourself from the mass African struggle, all because you're being given some type of position that is told to be something that is glorious and celebrated. In her case, you know, she probably just, it seems like still is divorced from the fact that the British monarchy is very much linked to the colonization of African people in the neo-colonial systems of the West still today. So when you're talking about a system that sees hundreds of millions of African people being robbed of their livelihood, being pushed into poverty, being pushed into chaos. And you expect that you're going to go into the British crown and basically have a positive experience. That means, again, you're divorced from the fact that the masses of your people are not going to, that the masses of your people are not inside of a fair situation, that the masses of your people are being exploited, and that the masses of your people are oppressed. So this should be a cautionary tale for all of us who enter into corporate America. Understand that if you're entering into corporate America, you're not exempt from the Black liberation struggle. In fact, the Black liberation struggle is going to come to your door in one way or another. It might not be the same way that it's our brothers and sisters on the streets or in the prisons, or our brothers and sisters who are scraping by for it with just a few dollars a day. It might not be in that same way, but it's going to be in other ways that really have the ultimate effect of humiliating you, have the effect of robbing you of your dignity. And if you don't understand that these positions of prominence do not divorce you from the African struggle, then you are going to be given essentially what the system has designated for you. That is a position of a second-class citizen, really a puppet in many instances. So that's really what I have on this story. I love to hear all of your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next video. Hey family, this is Tierney Cherie. I'm here to make an announcement that I'm very, very excited to make. I'm excited because I really think this is something that is important for our people. Otherwise, I would not have devoted so much time and energy towards it. So I finished my first book, and the book title is Fostering False Identity, the Child Welfare System's Design of Social Control of the Black Family. Now, why is this book something that I think will be very important for our community? Well, number one, it's dealing with the system of white supremacy, particularly the way that the system has targeted our children. If you don't know, our children are literally our future. Without our children, we have no future. And so understand that the system is very crafty when figuring out what to derail first. And to me, it's no mistake that the system particularly went after the Black family. If you look at what happened whenever we were enslaved by this system, and continues to go after the Black family, continues to go after Black children, continues to try to villainize African parents. So for that, I wanted to particularly talk about this subject. Now, the other thing that the book will deal with is our African identities. Why is it that our African identities are a threat to this system? Why is it that whenever we want to identify ourselves as being African, we get so much drawback inside of the Black community? I think a lot of us are not aware of the history of assimilationist thought inside of our community, this idea that we have to be close to white in order to be accepted. And so that's another subject that we delve into in this book. So I'm hoping that anyone who is, obviously, if you're a parent, a Black parent and you really want to understand why it is that these systems are going after your children, I encourage you to read this book. I hope that it will arm you with a lot of knowledge and a lot of foresight, not just about how to protect your own children, but how to organize in your community, because that's really the purpose of the book, is to say that we have to organize among ourselves in order to protect ourselves from this white supremacist system. And then obviously, if you're an organizer in general, this is something that I think is important for you to read, because like I said, this is a subject in the Black community that we just don't discuss enough. Child welfare is not something that is going to get enough attention. People obviously will organize them around other causes, but this is one that is really important that I feel like we have to pay more attention to.